Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast. I have a very special guest on the show today. I have TW Shannon of Chickasaw Community Bank. TW, it's awesome having you on the show.
Hi, thank you, Gresham, man. I'm honored to be here.
Definitely super excited to have you on and for all the phenomenal things that you're doing. And before we jumped into the interview, I want to read a little bit more about TW so you can hear about all of those awesome things. And TW is an accomplished leader with a diverse experience in business, public service, and community engagement. Today, he leads one of the most unique banks in the country. And as the CEO of Chickasaw Community Bank based in Oklahoma City, he leads a remarkably successful enterprise that is wholly owned by the Chickasaw Nation. Under his leadership, Chickasaw Community Bank completed the year 2020 at a record sixfold projections. And prior to his tenure at the bank, TW made history by becoming the youngest Speaker of the Oklahoma House of Representatives, as well as being the first Chickasaw and first African American to hold the post. TW, great to have you on the show. Are you ready to speak to the IMCEO community?
Man, I'm honored to be here. I appreciate what you're doing every day to highlight the great things that are happening in the country, Gresham. And I'm honored to be a guest too. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, super excited to have you on. Like I usually say, I just like to hold up the microphone and ask the questions. You're doing all the great work. So to really kind of kick everything off, I wanted to hear how you got started. Could you take us through what I like to call your CEO story? We'll let you do all the awesome work you're doing.
You bet. So our bank started, with the 20-year history. The governor of the great Chickasaw Nation, Bill Tubby, had a vision to start a bank in Oklahoma City. The idea was he saw that there was a gap in services for Native Americans, and but he wanted a bank that could serve not just Native Americans but the community at large. And so he planted a bank here in Oklahoma City. The bank was relatively conservative bank, a small bank with an initial investment of about $7 million. When I came to the bank in 2017, the assets have been grown to about 127 million or so, about 125 million. And since my time here in 2017, we've grown the bank's assets. I think today we said just over 300. So we've
Nice.
over 300 million. So we're still a small community bank, but that's pretty record growth that we've had. And I'm excited to be here because we're really a mission-oriented bank. And that's the part that excites me the most.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And I'm sure that's, what you're getting to when you say mission driven, because I almost feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you see the growth, especially in a bank within a community-based bank, I imagine that you probably have also been able to have a huge impact upon the community as a whole and basically carry out that mission.
Yeah, community banking is interesting, Gresham. The thing that I love about it most, you were kind to read my shameless biography. But the thing I love about community banking is that we're really on the ground level of helping people's dreams come true. And so here at Chickasaw Community Bank, whether we're investing in somebody's business or we're helping someone build their home, those all started with dreams. Somebody had a dream about that. And the thing about a community bank is we're on the ground level. Unlike the too big to fail banks who they serve a purpose and they have certainly a niche, but it's pretty defined based upon particular standards that they have, whether it be credit underwriting standards or niche markets. The great asset of being a community bank is we look at pretty much any deal, and we don't just consider our customers a number. We know our customers, and this was really demonstrated during this last pandemic that we're still coming out of. But last year, when the pandemic first hit, Chickasaw Community Bank, we were one of the first banks to not only sign up for the payroll protection program, PPP, which was designed to provide forgivable loans to small businesses. We were one of the first banks to also extend it beyond just our customers. You'll remember there was a lot of media attention because a lot of businesses were left out, especially minority businesses, because they didn't necessarily bank at one of the big banks, or some or their bank that they were banking didn't offer PPP. So there was a huge gap. It was community banks that really stepped up first and said, this is part of our mission. This is what we do. We're going to be involved in this program. And so I'm so proud of what we do at Chickasaw Community Bank because we really do build better lives for everyone. That's our motto, but it's more than just a slogan or motto. It's really part of our DNA.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it, and definitely see it coming to fruition, as you said, so well. Well, a lot of times people have these dreams, these visions of what they want to do, and you provide that vehicle for that to happen. And I
Beautiful.
appreciate you. Yeah, I appreciate you highlighting that too, because I think a lot of times, maybe especially in the business community, didn't realize how important it was to have that relationship, with a community bank. But during times like the pandemic, where you needed that personal relationship, you wanted to be able to have a bank where they know your name and knew what you were doing. It was so important and vital to keeping them successful.
Gresham, I'll give you an example of how important that is. So when the pandemic first hit, and of course you'll remember, it was just several weeks after Congress even appropriated the money and passed the bill and it was signed into law, first by President Donald Trump. It was shortly, just a few weeks after, that the program was made available. So SBA was scrambling to put together guidance on what would be required. And for banks whose job is to evaluate and measure risk, it was really when you don't even know what the guidance fully is or how SBA will interpret their guarantee. How do you ensure you're going to get your money back? It was a bit of a risk that community banks, frankly, were willing to take because we believe in our customers. But not only that, at Chickasaw Community Bank, and I'm sure other community banks as well, we called every one of our customers and said, hey, you need to know about this program. This is why we think you qualify, and this is why we think it would be good for your business. So it's just those kind of touches of service that I think, highlight the unique niche that community banks really serve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I appreciate you for, providing that leadership and being at the forefront of that, for definitely the Chickasaw community and kind of impacting, I think, reminding us of how important that is all across the globe, especially, there as well too. And so I know you touched a little bit upon like how you serve your clients. I wanted to see if there was anything additional you wanted to kind of touch on like how you work with your clients and what you feel is kind of like your secret sauce and what you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique.
I think I probably mentioned it already, but really it starts with your values, right? Values are beliefs, but values are different from culture because culture is action, right? Like we can have great philosophical beliefs that never actually get put into action. But Chickasaw Community Bank, when we talk about building better lives, the first thing that I tell all of our employees is it starts with you. It starts by taking care of our employees first, because if we don't take care of our employees, I guarantee you they're not going to take care of our customers. And so the first thing that we do is I tell all of our employees, hey, I'm glad that you chose us to be here. We make sure that when employees arrive, that the onboarding process is here. It's important to me that when you show up here for your first day of work, you have business cards, you have a nameplate, you have a desk, you have computer login. I mean, we've all started on a job before where, it's like, oh, we didn't, are you starting today? We didn't know you were here. But we want to send the message to every employee. We've been waiting for you. Like you chose us to be here because, jobs sometimes employers, sometimes like to act like they're doing people a big favor by giving them a job. The reality is the shortage for workers. I mean, if you can show up on time with a skill set, with the work ethic, and pass a drug test these days, my gosh, you're an invaluable commodity. And so when people choose to come with us, now we want them to be the right fit. We start from day one making sure that the onboarding says everything about us, that you matter to us, and we're honored that you chose us. And so I think it starts there with taking care of our employees. And when we say building better lives for everyone, it starts with the employee, and it hopefully transitions out and frankly is experienced by our customers too.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. I appreciate you for sharing that because I think so many times, in organizations, we don't realize that at the forefront are those people that are the team members, the employees, the people that are having that interaction. And so many times we always want to serve our clients and we forget about maybe the extension of the mission and the vision of what we hope to have and how that's kind of manifested itself by the interactions we have with our employees and our team members. So it's so important to take care of them because they'll help to, uphold and to kind of live out that mission that we have as a foundation in our organizations.
I tell all of our employees the day that they start, and I meet, number one, I meet personally with every employee that we have. Now, as we grow, it becomes more difficult through the pandemic. It's been even more difficult to maintain the culture because, a lot of people are working from home. But what I tell every single employee about working with us is our culture is, number one, we recognize that when we hire you, we're not just hiring your experience, like we're hiring a person. Like you're going to bring with you a worldview, you're going to bring with you hobbies, you're going to bring with you habits and idiosyncrasies. Like we hired a person. And when you're here, you should be comfortable being who you are. So if you're a person of faith, if you're a person who's in the sports and family, whatever it is, you should be comfortable being who you are when you're here. And if anybody ever makes you not feel comfortable about that, we want to know about it. But also, and I think just as important, is recognizing that work-family balance is important. Now, for every person, that balance is different. There are people who have a different value about what that balance should be, and so we don't prescribe the balance. We help our employees identify what that balance is for them, and do everything that we can to help them stay in balance. Because what I know is, if they get out of, and nobody's perfect. I mean, we have different seasons of ebb and flow, and certainly in banking, especially in our mortgage division, where we do more HUD 184. That's a Native American home loan program. We do more than just about anybody in the state of Oklahoma for sure, but also probably in the country. If you get out of balance for too long, you're probably not going to be here. At that, and so what I want is for people to be here for as long as they should. And when I started here, the turnover rate was it was embarrassing, frankly, especially for a banking institution. We've made amazing strides to that. I think we've gotten it down from well over 50 or 60% down to 13%. And it was just by, number one, investing in our employees, training our managers, but also making sure that work-family balance is a priority.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge. I say so often that we forget about the people aspect of business, and as you talked about the work-life balance, but also just kind of understanding that the people that are on the team also have a mission and vision for what they want in their lives, and being able to kind of talk to that, to speak to that, give that culture and that space for that to happen is absolutely huge. So definitely appreciate that. And I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
Something that makes me more efficient or effective. Um, Probably the greatest value that I bring, probably as a leader to my organization, is that, man, I'm all about team, right? Like I believe putting together a great team is really what I'm called to do. My job here is not to do every aspect of the job. My job here is to make sure I've got the right team, and that I keep that team motivated and inspired. And to do that, you have to get to know them on an individual level, because it's not different than when you're a leader. It's like being a leader of a family, like I am. I have a 15-year-old daughter and I have a 12-year-old son. And what I try to tell to my son, who's younger, is he's always complaining about the older one gets to do this. She has different. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. And I said, and what I try to explain to him is, no, it's not equal, but it's fair. Like you guys have different needs, you have different wants. Now, while you can focus on the additional privileges that your 15-year-old sister has, the reality is she also has a lot of other responsibilities that you don't have. And so it's my job as the leader of our family, along with my wife, who also helps lead the family. It's for us to make sure that people are treated fairly. That doesn't mean necessarily that they're treated equally, if that makes sense. I think that we've kind of bastardized the word equality. I want things to be fair. They have to be fair, but people are different. They have different needs, their desires, their talents are not equal. And so we have to strive for fairness. And so for me, I think getting to know our employees personally and understanding them is important. And then just making a commitment to them. Like I tell every employee, it's this. Our culture is, we are big on celebration. So when you knock it out the park, when you are killing it, we want to celebrate you the way you like to be celebrated. Not everybody wants to party. I've got a lot of pencil pushing, accountant, bankers here who, they're introverts, and, you start plastering their face on social media and throwing parties, you're going to freak them out. So, but we still have to celebrate them. So what I tell them, we're going to celebrate you the way you like to be celebrated. But I will also give you this guarantee as well. We're also going to support you just as much when you blow it. And it's not a matter of if you're going to blow it, it's a matter of when. We all fall short. We all have days where we can't get to work on time. We all have days where we don't work to our best potential. Something falls through the crack. We're not going to spend a lot of time, reprimanding that person. We want to teach them. We don't want it to reoccur. So I think that's the secret. The other is I'm a big believer in alignment. That you want people to be in the right position based on their interest and their gifts and talents. And so we spend a lot of time up front putting people, making sure using some personality testing tools, assessment tools to make sure, yeah, you think you want to be at this job, but we've got a tool that's pretty accurate. I mean, we haven't missed it by very much. We that will align people. And I'll give you an example of why it works. The personality testing that we have, I can look at any given time and see, does this skill set that we believe is required for this job, how does this person's interest and talents based on the assessment they took, how do they line up? And then when we do our we do polling of our employees to find out, their satisfaction. We try to figure out where they are. We had 2 employees that were the most unsatisfied with where they were. And when I compare that to our assessment of their alignment, they were the 2 employees that were the most misaligned for the position. And so that doesn't mean that they're not good employees. They're loyal, they're faithful, they have a good work ethic, they present themselves well as their leaders. The problem is they're expending energy doing something that they don't like. So we reevaluated, moved them to different positions. They were hesitant because they gotten used to doing it. But in the end, it was the right move. They're still here and they're thriving, doing really well. So I think those are kind of the hacks, if you will, personality testament and getting to know people well and making sure that they're aligned to the right position.
Yeah, I truly appreciate that, TW, and especially how I think both of those answers are in alignment as well too. Because I think what we talked about is like creating that culture, and I think that culture manifests itself in what you're doing, actually doing the work to understand each of the individuals that are on the team. And I love that analogy between being a parent and being able to be a leader and a CEO and whatever title we might have, but a leader within our organizations, and how we have to understand that we're kind of motivating and we're managing, I guess, for lack of a better term, to the person, not to whatever the position is or whatever it is,
Yeah,
and using tools like personality assessments and things like that to fully understand that alignment allows us to really understand, but also put that person in the perfect place to succeed.
that's right.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And so I want to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
Hmm. Blessed are the flexible, for they shall not break. What I have found out is that, man, you can have I'll give you an example. The pandemic, when the pandemic hit about March, when we finally realized how things were happening and shutdowns were happening. We had I told you about the growth we've had, where we've grown, from $120 million bank to well over 300, which is, most banks don't grow more than 5% a year. So we were really, really hauling it. And we anticipated another big year in 2019. Well, it was a good year, not a really big year. We had a couple of really big years. But when 2020 hit, we had a plan. We had a good strategic plan for the year. We had a good budget for the year. But we saw some headwinds coming. We were looking at data like everybody. We thought the sky was falling, and for many industries it was. And so we reevaluated. We made some adjustments. And we wound up having the biggest year the bank's ever had in 2020. And I think it's because of the flexibility we were willing to have and going back to our values. We didn't hesitate on allowing employees to work from home. I got my HR team and my IT team together, and I said, listen, this disease apparently is highly contagious. That's the piece of it that is different from any other thing we've seen. Is the contagious component of it is high, and so what do we do? What employees can work from home, and what investment do we need to make that happen? And we did it. So we wound up with maybe 80% of our employees working remotely. It took a big investment up front, getting computers and not just, we're banks, so you can't just plug into any internet and start surfing. We've got, client, confidential information that we have to protect. So it's not just, go buy a laptop. I mean, it's a whole a movement for a small bank with a small IT department. But we did it because it's the right thing to do. We said, listen, we've got employees, not just about the disease, employees have kids at home. There's no daycare open. What can we do to support those employees? And then, so at the end of the year, when we had that record year, after we turned employees' lives upside down, I made a commitment in March after the pandemic. I said, listen, my commitment to you is to make whatever adjustments I have to make sure that nobody here loses their job as a result of this. And I will tell you, we sent people home, and there's always some uncertainty about that. Employee product, I could get emotional about it. Employee productivity went through the roof because I made a commitment to them as the CEO is I'm going to do everything I can to ensure that you have a job for the next year. So whatever adjustments we have to make, even if it means we have to reduce salaries overall, if we have to stop bonuses, if we have to liquidate, some physical assets, your job is our first priority, along with taking care of our customers and sustaining, making sure there's a continuity of business. And man, our employees, they responded to that. And so at the end of the year, when we had this record year, every single employee, I surprised them at Christmas time, a couple of weeks from Christmas, and every single employee of the Chickasaw Community Bank, whether you had been here one day and we had an employee, it was their first week, we had another employee, she was retiring that week. Every single employee got a $3,000 bonus from the bank. And, for a teller who's in college, and, that $3,000 is a substantial difference that you weren't expecting at Christmas. And that, again, we did it because it was the right thing to do, but the return we get on that from employee satisfaction, the way that they take care of their customers, it's just it's invaluable. It really is.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate you sharing that. And I think that so many times we can get caught on the way that we're doing things. But as we've all experienced, there's been a huge transition in the way, life is led, business is led, and so on and so forth. And even as you said, even in the bank, I think with all the change, people want to know that they have some type of, community, safety, some place to kind of lean on. And I appreciate you for having that leadership because I think, as you saw, as you said, the productivity went through the roof because I think people felt that confidence in the mission that the bank had, but also in you and your leadership. So I think that's something we all can kind of keep in mind is that it's not necessarily being tied to how we're doing things, but being flexible enough to still fill out the mission and do it in a different way, which sometimes has to happen.
Yeah, well said.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, TW, I want to ask you now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on this show. So, TW, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Being CEO means that you are the chief executive whose sole purpose is to fulfill the mission of the bank, but to set vision and to hold people accountable to that vision by inspiring them every day to do their absolute best. I mean, that's what I do more than anything. I set the vision of the bank. I tell our employees where we're going, but I don't necessarily tell them how we get there. You've got to leave room for the talents and gifts and input of your employees. I'm a person of faith, and so my Judeo-Christian heritage or my Judeo-Christian worldview, makes me believe that every single person is created in the image of God, and that means that they bring value, that they have characteristics about them that are unique. Some people, I think, are more on the creative side of things. Some people are more on the orderly side of things. And I think people are most fulfilled and they are the most productive when you help them find that right balance between creativity and the idea of orderliness. That they thrive in that environment. So for me, in my role, it's to put together the team, to inspire the leadership, to set the vision, and to hold them accountable for achieving that vision. But being sure not to tell them how to get to our destination, because that's where their gifts and talents come in. And we don't just need my gifts and talents, because there are a lot of people who are way smarter than me, know a lot more things than I do, and have unique perspectives that I don't.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate that. And I'm a big believer in, the parables of the talents. And as we all have these specific gifts that are given to us and to kind of magnify and impact the world, the people around, us in so many different ways. And I love, that definition because it taps into not trying to do all of the things, not trying to be talented in every aspect, but being talented in the things that are going to be the most impactful for the organization and the people there, and tapping into their zones of genius, their gifts, their talents as well, too, just kind of see the overall mission come to fruition. So I definitely appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is just pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best people can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you and your team are working on.
Well, you're kind. First of all, let me say this. I've been really enjoying this opportunity, Gresham, to visit with you. I appreciate what you're doing by highlighting the important work that's happening in our civic involvement that's happening around the country. America is still a place of opportunity. I like to talk about America really being a place of systemic opportunity. There is still an opportunity for people to thrive, to find and understand their purpose, and to live out that purpose. And by doing so, contributing to their community at large. And as I've said before, at Chickasaw Community Bank, we're about helping people's dreams come true. We're on the front lines of it. We do it every single day, and when that happens, we receive the greatest reward by helping people, fulfill their dreams. That's why we were created. That's what we do best, and we do it every single day. And for people who are interested to learn more about us, they can go to ccb.bank for our website, or they can follow us on any social media outlet, Chickasaw Community Bank or CCB. So thank you for having me, and it's a privilege to be in this role, and also to share the great things that are happening here in Oklahoma at Chickasaw Community Bank.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you, TW. And we will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too, so that everybody can get a hold of you and see all the awesome work that you all are doing. But I truly appreciate that. I think that's one of the biggest things is I get a vision of kind of having a seed, and everybody has those different seeds, those missions, their goals, their visions that they want
Right.
to have, those dreams, and you get to help them to come to fruition. So appreciate you for all the work you did, of course, the time you took today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Christian, thank you. You have a great day too, my friend.